We usually think of betrayal as this big, chaotic, emotional explosion, like a lightning strike out of a clear blue sky. But what if it's not? What if the most devastating lies aren't random at all, but actually follow a predictable, almost scripted pattern? Okay, let's get into this. So, the core idea we're going to unpack here is that betrayal has a structure, a kind of psychological architecture. Our source material calls it the lie playbook. And by looking at some real firsthand accounts of deceit, we can actually start to map out the tactics that get used over and over again. The denial, the manipulation, the blame shifting. All right, so how do we actually break this down? Well, the source material gives us 3 different anonymous case studies. And by looking at them side by side, we can see exactly how this playbook unfolds in the real world, starting from the very first move. And just look at the foundations here. Case 1. You've got a 12-year friendship made even deeper by financial ties. Case 2, a partner who actually exploits a pre-existing trauma about being ghosted. And then case 3, a committed relationship where one person is saving for a ring while the other is, well, living a completely separate life. In every single one of these stories, the groundwork for the lie was laid in deep, profound trust. And that trust, that's what creates the blind spot. This is where you start to see the first tiny cracks in that foundation. And it's almost never a sudden earthquake. Nope. Instead, it's a slow burn, where your own intuitions start sending these little signals that something is just deeply off with the reality you thought you knew. And what's so wild is just how subtle these first signals are. They're not hard evidence, right? They're feelings. An unnerving connection you notice between your best friend and your partner. A sinking feeling in your stomach when you can't reach either of them. Or maybe it's a pattern of 2 a.m. phone calls that always get brushed off as just work stuff. This is that first internal battle. It's your gut, your self-preservation, fighting against your desire to just keep things comfortable and normal. And this phrase right here, this is the sound of denial winning, at least for a little while. Figured I was being silly. It's that moment we choose to betray our own gut feeling. It's that voice in your head that blames your own perception just to avoid having to face a really painful truth. But that slow burn can only go on for so long. Eventually, suspicion collides with undeniable proof. And this is the pivot point. It could be a phone call that gets answered by the wrong person saying, "Hello, baby." Or maybe it's discovering evidence of not 1, but 4 affairs happening at the same time. In that moment, the lie just can't be held up anymore, and your reality is completely shattered by cold, hard facts. So the truth is finally out. You'd probably expect remorse, maybe an apology, right? But what often happens instead is that the betrayer opens up the exact same predictable playbook. Their goal isn't hiding the lie anymore. Now it's all about controlling the narrative of how it all came out. Let's look at the 3 main plays. First up, we've got the classic gaslighting. And this isn't just someone lying to your face. Oh no, it's a calculated strategy to weaponize your own self-doubt against you. The whole point is to make you question your sanity, to shift the focus away from their behavior and onto your supposedly unstable or paranoid reaction to it. And wow, this quote from one of the accounts just nails the effect. Made to think that I was being paranoid. See, it's an active campaign to convince you that your totally correct intuition is actually some kind of mental instability. Your perception becomes the problem, not their actions. And of course, that flows right into the next tactic, the blame deflection. This is a masterful little move where they turn the flashlight of guilt right back around onto you. The betrayal gets reframed as some justifiable consequence of your actions. The logic gets all twisted. Well, I had to be secretive because you were so paranoid. Or, I cheated because you were boring. They literally make their actions your fault. And that brings us to the final, and often the most shocking play in the book. When the gaslighting and the blame shifting don't work, the mask just comes off completely. This is shameless justification, and it reveals a pretty stunning lack of empathy. So the first justification isn't an apology at all, it's a taunt. After 8 months of lies, the response to getting caught was, "Took you long enough to figure it out." The second one, it just reveals this profound level of self-centeredness, this whole complex web of lies, all the pain it caused. It all gets boiled down to, "I was simply bored." And the third one, this one from the best friend, is an attempt to just normalize and depersonalize a deeply personal betrayal. It wasn't personal, and these things happen.
Okay, so what happens when the playbook has run its course? The response to being betrayed is as varied as the betrayal itself. There's no single path to recovery, but there are definitely distinct strategies for survival and for rewriting the end of the story on your own terms.
The contrast in how people handle this is fascinating. Path one is what you might call strategic revenge, taking back your power by making the betrayer pay until you get bored and cut him off on her terms. Path two is a lingering cynicism, where the trauma gets internalized and the language of love itself feels poisoned. And path three is decisive severance, just immediate self-preservation, recognizing that some things can't be fixed. It's captured perfectly in the response, "I just laughed and hung." And that brings us to what might be the deepest collateral damage. Beyond losing a person, the most enduring scar can be the destruction of your ability to trust language itself. Words like, "I love you," or "trust me." Once you know they can be used as tools for manipulation, they can become permanently poisoned. I mean, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? It captures that long-term cost perfectly. The real damage isn't just about struggling to trust the next person, it's about losing faith in the very words that are supposed to build human connection. So here's the crucial point to really get. There's a huge difference between the act and the blame. The act, the cheating, the lying, that's an external shock. It's an event that happened to you. But the blame, being told you caused it, that you were paranoid or toxic or boring, that is an attack on your internal reality. It forces you to carry that damage inside, leaving scars that last long after the person is gone.
And that leaves us with a really fundamental question. Based on everything we've seen, which betrayal truly leaves the deepest scar? Is it the external shock that shatters your reality? Or is it the internalized blame that slowly chips away at how you see yourself? It's definitely something to think about.